I think so, yes.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Welcome, everyone, to our budget hearing tonight. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone could rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm now going to turn this over to Superintendent Beauvais.
Thank you. Welcome to the MSAD60 Fiscal Year 26 Budget Hearing. I am Audra Beauvais, the Superintendent of Schools. The purpose of this evening is to present, discuss, and ultimately approve the school district budget articles in preparation for the district referendum vote on June 10th, 2025. In a moment, we will call to elect a moderator for this evening, but before we do that, I'd like to provide a broad overview of the development of the MSAD60 budget. The budget development process is very comprehensive in nature. The first portion of that process begins in early fall with administrators and directors working to build school-based and department-based budgets. This part of the process takes time as student enrollment, facilities, and supply needs are taken into account and compiled as part of the larger budget. Simultaneous to this process, the district-based administrators work on those portions of the budget that are district-oriented, such as tuition to Sanford Regional Technical Center, fuel and energy rates, insurance rates, overall facility needs, staffing, as a few examples. From this work, the full budget is compiled and brought forward to the Board of Directors for their consideration. Each school or department of the budget is presented to the board and discussed in detail as part of that process. For those of you who are in attendance at budget workshops and meetings, you were able to witness the level of detail, questioning, and considerations that went into the final budget, which is being presented this evening. Please note that the Board of Directors worked very hard to bring forward a budget that not only addresses student learning and needs, but is also responsible to the taxpayers in our three communities. This was not an easy task, and ultimately what is presented to the community tonight is a collaboration between building and department-based leaders, district leaders, and board members. This means that while hard decisions were made throughout the last several months, they are decisions that again address student learning and supports and are responsible to our taxpayers. Of particular note is the district's reconfiguration plan. After the initial budget was compiled, it became evident that the preliminary budget would not be fiscally responsible to present to the community. This was due to several contributing factors: declining enrollment, high three-year property valuation rates, and cost increases across all areas of the budget, including inflation, seen in services, supplies, contracted services, benefits, and salaries. In order to continue providing comprehensive programming for MSAD60 students while also being mindful of the community's tax burden, the district developed a reconfiguration plan. This plan includes moving all District 4th graders to Knowlton School, relocating District 5th and 6th graders to the current Noble Middle School, transitioning the District 7th graders to Noble High School to develop a separate middle school within the high school building. As a result, the three elementary schools, Vivian E. Hussey School, North Berwick Elementary School, and Hanson School, will serve students in pre-K or pre-kindergarten to 3rd grade. This reconfiguration maintains class sizes to those in previous years, ranging from 16 to 22 students per class, and that is K-12 and pre-K to 12. Additionally, it reduces the original budget by $2.2 million and helps right-size the district in response to ongoing declines in student enrollment. You will see the impact of this reconfiguration reflected throughout the budget articles presented this evening. That said, the overall proposed budget is $49,894,591, which represents a 6.93 impact on taxpayers. I'd like to emphasize that this reflects only a 1.15 increase over the fiscal year 25 budget. Achieving this minimal increase was no small feat, especially given the significant challenges posed by the declining enrollment, high property valuation, and inflation. In a moment, we'll begin working through the budget articles, but before that, we need to move on to the first order of business, which is to call the election of a moderator. May we have a motion? Okay, there's a motion for Jeff Day. Seconded for Jeff Day. Are there any other motions? Okay, we need to just do a show of cards for the election of Jeff Day for moderator. Okay, thank you. Jeff? Hi. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So we just need to swear you in with the oath.
Hang on one second.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So, do you, Jeffrey Day, swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Maine, so long as you shall continue to be a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge, to the best of your abilities, the duties incumbent on you as a moderator of the Maine School Administrative District Number 60 budget meeting on May 8th, 2025, according to the Constitution and the laws of the state of Maine?
I do.
Okay. Do you mind signing?
I do not mind.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. So just a few things before we get started with the articles. I will be using the Maine Moderator's Manual 2021 edition with the following modification. Members of the administrative team who are not registered in the registered voters in the district will be allowed to speak, to address questions, and provide information to the meeting. Are there anyone other than that you need to have speak?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just some general guidelines. Only registered voters in our towns may participate and vote. Questions should be directed to me, the moderator. When asking a question, please state your name and the town that you are from. We have microphones down front, and we don't have runners, right? So if you'll come down to the front if you have a question. In order to ensure everyone has an opportunity to ask questions, we'd ask that you don't, if a question's been asked, don't repeat it. Allow others to have an opportunity to speak. I'll allow 2 questions from an individual, and we'll then need to ensure everyone else has an opportunity to ask their question. Please do not interrupt those who are speaking, and questions should be specific to the current article being discussed. To minimize confusion, there will be no amendments to the amendment. As an example, you can make an amendment, we'll have a discussion, we'll close that discussion and then vote on the amendment. If it doesn't pass, a new amendment can then be offered. If you feel there's been adequate discussion and answers have been provided, you may move the question. Residents, you will have received a voter card from your clerks. You'll use those for voting on when you vote. And then Article number 13 will be a written ballot. So if we keep all of these general guidelines in mind, I'm sure we'll have a productive evening. And if there are no concerns, we'll begin the budget review and discussion. All right. Audra, is anything else you want to add before we start?
No, I think we're all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Article number 1, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. The school board recommends $19,332,753. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is James Dupree from Lebanon.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak because a number of Lebanon parents have expressed considerable concern regarding the fourth graders in particular having to spend an hour plus on the school bus due to the new reconfiguration. I did a bit of research and I came up with the following numbers. In order to hire a custodian and a secretary, it would cost approximately $120,000 for the year. The fourth grade, all the other fourth grade expenses are covered in the current budget, so I would like to make a formal motion to add $200,000 to this budget and return the fourth graders to Lebanon Elementary School.
All right, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment? Yes, please.
So the $200,000 is for a custodian and a secretary?
So the numbers that I found in my research is a custodian and a secretary together should cost about $65,000 each. So I put $120 in for that. I put another $80 in for any incidental expenses that may come up because I know it's not as simple as just hiring 2 people. So $120 for staffing and $80 for anything else that may come up.
Okay, so the 265s are going to be 130, plus 80 would be 210. And of that, 80,000 would be in this article, this regular instruction article. 65 would be in school administration for the secretary, and 65 would be in facilities for the custodian, just to clarify.
So can I just do that all at once, or do I have to come up for each one?
I'm going to say we're going to have to do it per whichever article.
Okay, so can you repeat that so I can write it down?
Yes,
Hang on
sure.
while I get a clean sheet.
So I'm assuming the miscellaneous 80,000 of expenses are for supplies or tables or instructional supplies.
Anything that may come up.
That would be in this article, Article 1.
Okay.
Article 7 would be $65,000. And that would be for the secretary. And then Article 9 is facilities, and that's where the custodian expenses are.
All right. So am I allowed to modify my motion?
We can't, let's just, if you want to withdraw your motion.
Okay. I will withdraw my motion. Do we
Okay.
need the second to accept that?
No.
Okay. And I will make a new motion to add $80,000 to Article 1 for incidental expenses associated with returning the fourth graders to Lebanon Elementary.
And second. Any discussion on this amendment? Yes.
Is that the entire cost of moving fourth grade back?
So the motion was, as I understood it, move the fourth graders back to Lebanon.
Correct.
Okay. So based on my research, the total cost should be about $200,000. Because of what we were just told, that had to be broken out to appear in 3 different budget items. So this $80,000 is the first. I will do $60,000 on Article 7 and $60,000 on Article 9.
Correct, but what my question is, there are other cuts, there were other savings, like specialists in that building for those students? So an art teacher, music teacher, gym
Those are all
teacher.
there already. They're already with the fourth graders. They come back with them.
It doesn't, I don't think it quite works that
So
way.
there was,
Go ahead.
no. There's a reduction of a special education staff at that, when we took students from that building and then dispersed them throughout. And then there's also a a classroom ed techs and counselors, yeah.
And there was another teacher needed for grade 4.
Yes, grade 4 would need another teacher at Knowlton School
Yeah.
if that
I mean,
reconfigured. Right, yeah.
Back at the 11th.
All right, so let me back up and ask you. What would the teaching requirements be to return the students to Lebanon Elementary?
I think that's going to take some
Yeah, it's going to take a minute.
math for a
So
minute.
you need to tell me.
So it would be a special education. And some of these will be obviously in different articles. We're just working
So
on
an
a special.
unfilled role-ish.
Unfilled, so regular ed.
So the comment was, in case you didn't hear it, was the rough math, we'll have to do the exercise of splitting that.
Yep.
Like you did previously.
I think that, and what do we need for special ed, regular ed techs for that whole day? We'd have to have two. Yep.
And just to clarify, because Peg, I thinking maybe this was where you're going, also, are we just talking Lebanon, and are we talking the other schools as well?
The other schools do not have an hour bus ride for most of their students, so this is really the concern, is asking a fourth grader to do a longer workday than people are allowed to work. It's more than 9 hours, is an awful lot.
Just for clarification purposes, we do have several bus runs that are over an hour in each town currently, and we will currently continue with that.
Does the rest of the reconfiguration still, is it still relevant if we pull out the LES portion of it?
And they're only asking to pull out the fourth grade portion of it.
Right, yeah.
It will impact it, but it'll be the financial piece of this. It's really the financial piece of it.
Okay. So,
This is called on the spot or thing.
All good.
It's all good. Yeah.
I can't sing, and I won't tell jokes, so.
Thank you for that.
So while they're doing some math,
Thank you. Josh Tabor, Northbrook. Is there a button to press on this, or does it just work? Just works? Great. If, I'm thinking last year, when money was added to the budget last year, the school administration and school board had to go through a process figuring out how that was to be used, right? I mean, it's a certain amount that's added, and the details are figured out by the board and administration at a later time. So is there a way to, are we just trying to figure out a ballpark figure? Can we help this gentleman with a ballpark figure?
Yeah,
so
that's
that,
what we're doing.
Okay, so it's just
That's exactly
ballpark,
what
right?
we're- yep.
And I know, James, I know you're trying to figure out the details and stuff, and I guess that's the question. I just want to make sure that we were trying to do that. Thank you.
and I'll let you have your question in just a second. So, and maybe, Josh, this is where you're going. Last year, we discussed that the process is you all can add money, take money out as you all vote. However, ultimately, it's the school board's decision to, based on how they get together and collectively decide to implement that change, or that financial change. So just in the interest of being transparent, we had that conversation last year if you were here. So just want to get that out there, that ultimately the school board will decide how to apply any budget dollars put back in or taken out. Okay. Do you have a question down here?
Holly Dupuy from Berwick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So that's a great point that last year we did vote to put over $300,000 back into the budget for a specific thing, and it was not used for that specific thing exactly. So just so you know, if you do want to add all that money back in, the taxpayers will pay for it, but it won't necessarily be used for what you're asking it to be used for, one. And just so I'm clear as a taxpayer voting on this, you're asking for this money to be added back into the budget because some kids from Lebanon have to ride over an hour in a school bus when Berwick students who go to Berwick schools also ride over an hour in a school bus, and North Berwick students who go to North Berwick schools also ride over an hour in a school bus. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm not sure if those schools actually have an elementary school in town
We all
that could
do.
host those students.
We all do. We have K through 3.
So let's,
I would encourage you to do the same thing then.
yeah, so let's keep the dialogue this way versus that way.
I just want to make sure
No,
I'm clear.
yep, and that was kind of why I was asking a clarifying question. Are we just talking about Lebanon, and right now, that's what we're talking about?
Okay.
And
So,
were that all your questions?
That's my question, but I don't think it's been answered.
Okay, well,
That's fine.
just rephrase the question to
Are we asking to put money back into the budget for a
No.
custodian and a secretary because some children ride over
Oh,
an
sorry.
hour in Lebanon
That's the way I understand it.
So,
when other towns also ride over an hour in their own towns?
Yes.
yeah, so
Okay.
the driving factor is right now those students don't ride anywhere near an hour, and I think it's completely inappropriate. And most of the parents I've spoken to feel the same. So that's why I'm here.
But that's incorrect information, so I just want to make it clear that that's untrue, that kids in Berwick travel over an hour to go to Berwick schools, and kids in North Berwick travel over an hour
Understood.
to get to North Berwick schools.
But I think your point was you're talking about Lebanon.
Yes, and
And-
I would encourage you to do the same if you're concerned with your students.
Do the same what exactly?
Exactly what I'm doing.
Add a custodian and a secretary to our budget as well?
Bring your students back.
Would that reduce the bus time for us?
If you brought them back to a local school, it would. That's what we're trying to do.
So let's just clarify again where we are. We're saying, right now, the discussion is Lebanon. I think or I'm pretty sure the discussion was Berwick and North Berwick. If you have a concern, we should, there should be a discussion around Berwick and North Berwick. Keep me straight here, school board. Are there, students in Lebanon that ride more than an hour today?
There are students that ride over an hour in all 3 towns.
Are there fourth graders that ride over an hour today?
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
I would challenge that and express an extreme amount of skepticism.
All right, well, so
I don't know if this,
way down the end.
Okay, I think that we're getting stuck in the weeds here with the hour. I think what he's referring to is the distance. If you're on the far end of Lebanon, just driving, no stops, no bus stops, no anything, just from the far end of Lebanon over by the Milton Mills side or Milton side, it would just be an hour just driving. If I got in my car and drove my child from there over to Milton, it would take me an hour to drive that distance without picking up another child, without a bus stop, stopping every however distance it is to pick up the next child. Okay, so we're getting stuck in the weeds here a little bit. The drive time that I think that he's referring to is like car drive time from my house, which I don't live over there. I'm just using it as an example, but from there over to the Knowlton School. Okay, so that's not necessarily the bus ride. We could be talking an hour and a half or more with bus stops.
So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I remember when when we started coming to this district, I was very surprised that my third grader at the time, we live 2 miles from the school, and she takes about an hour to get home in Berwick, which is interesting. And it does feel like a very long day, and I'm not able to pick her up at school most of those days, so she is on the bus in Berwick as a 4th grader, and now my kindergartner as well. And I totally would love to explore in the next budget a way where we could maybe reduce those bus times. But as it stands right now, I think Lauren is about to say the same thing about her North Berwick kiddo, about an hour. Yeah.
Mine doesn't, but I was speaking to a parent with a special needs kiddo with special needs in North Berwick who goes to Lebanon and is younger than 4th grade and is on the bus for more than an hour to get to that program.
So definitely something to explore, but I do want everyone to know, I think it is, at this point, kind of equitable among all 3 towns with that same issue.
All right, thank you. Peg, did you have something?
And to clarify to Holly's point, this isn't something where we can, in North Berwick and Berwick, our kids are in our town, so we can't bring them back. It's just the way the bus routes are. I live less than a half mile from Vivian Huzzy, and my kids used to be on the bus for 45 minutes. So it's just a feature of how large our district is that's a challenge.
Josh?
Thank you. Again, I have said it at previous meetings. To me, it's not about the bus rides. The bus rides have to be looped however they have to be driving. I'm thinking of the parents and kids that live 45 minutes to an hour away from the building where their child is going to be. I mean, just think of every event that a school has, every parent conference, every time you want to go pick up and dismiss your child or bring them because they're late to school for whatever reason. That's an incredible amount of driving to start that at 9 years old. It's just a lot to ask. And when you have an empty school right in the community, that's why I said, to me, it's not about the bus ride. The bus ride that's a separate issue. The buses are the buses. We are purposely taking 4th graders who could be going to school 15 to 20 minutes from their house and making it so they have to go to school 45 to an hour away from their house. That seems like a lot.
Denise, do we have numbers?
All right, if you guys are ready.
Yep.
So our rough estimate of what it would take to bring the 4th grade in Lebanon back to Lebanon, we think we would need an additional regular ed classroom teacher, 2 ed techs, 1 special ed teacher, a guidance counselor, and then to add the custodian that you mentioned, the secretary for that building, and the $80,000 of miscellaneous expenses. The total of all of those positions and items would come out to $556,000. That would, for the overall budget, raise expenses from 1.15 to 2.28. It would raise the school budget from 6.71 to 8.96, and the overall budget after school nutrition and adult education to 9.17.
So I have a question on that. I'm going to focus on the teacher and the ed techs.
So in this first article, you have a teacher, 2 ed techs, and the $80,000 of supplies.
So my question is, the students already have teachers no matter where they are. They have ed techs no matter where they are. Why do you have to hire more?
There's an economy of scale, because if you're shooting for a certain class size and you have, for example, 2 or 3 classrooms in North Berwick, but you have lots of children, it doesn't spread well, right? You might need a teacher. If you have all 4th grade together, you can absorb some of
that makes
those.
sense. Does this return the teaching staff, special ed, and guidance to the same counts that we currently have at Lebanon Elementary?
That's a little beyond what I can calculate right here. I don't know if
Well, so in the 4th grade, we have a certain number of teachers, support, everything already there.
Adding that 1 classroom teacher would revert and keep us back to where we need to be with class size.
So it matches what we currently have.
And educational technicians and a special educator, correct.
So for 4th grade, that would be exactly what we have today.
Give or take 1 or 2 or 3, depending on move-ins, move-outs, and that type of thing. Yes.
No, the teaching staff. How many 4th grade teachers do we have at Lebanon Elementary today?
4. 3. We have 3.
Okay. If we brought them back and we hired this additional one.
We will need 4 teachers, so we will need to hire a teacher.
Why would we need another teacher?
Because of student enrollment.
We have that many more students coming in next year.
from third grade to fourth grade, correct.
Okay. Okay, so that explains that. So can you give me the breakdown again for which articles these would appear in?
Yes. So Article 1,
Yep.
252,000.
Okay.
Article 2, 87,000.
Okay.
Article 5, 87,000.
Yep.
Article 7 is 65,000.
Okay.
And Article 9 would be 65,000.
And can you run down, one is a teacher to ed techs.
And supplies.
And supplies. Article 2 would be
Special ed teacher,
one special ed teacher. Article 5 would be
1 guidance counselor.
one guidance counselor. Don't we already have a guidance counselor there with the lower grade levels?
We do.
We do at Hanson, right, but
But this would be
it's the caseload size, because we went from 2 to 1, and they're all over pre-K to 3 now, and so it's like, you've got to look at your ratios.
So one guidance counselor can't handle pre-K to fourth grade? Okay. I mean, I'm asking. I'm just asking. Okay. And then Article 9 was?
Was the custodian.
Okay, so I will retract my motion and make a motion to add $252,000 to this article with the intent of returning Lebanon's fourth graders to Lebanon Elementary.
Any
And I think
more
we're done now.
discussion?
Thank you.
Go ahead while they come down to the mic, Josh.
Thank you, sir. Do those numbers take into consideration any reductions at Knowlton?
Can take into consideration.
Do they take into consideration any reductions? If you're going to move approximately, so if 4 teachers, that would be around 80 students out of Knowlton, wouldn't there be reductions at Knowlton because of that move?
He's thinking, like, because that 4th grade is gone, would we have less staff?
We would still need the amount of teachers at Knowlton, so that does not impact that. As far as ed techs, we would need those 2 ed techs in North Berwick. We would need those ed techs in Lebanon so that we don't then shortchange Knowlton because we move some up for the 5th and 6th grade at the middle school.
Because it's really just taking, it's only 1 teacher.
Question over here.
I'm not sure this is the right time to bring this up. I'm really kind of confused by this. It seems like everything is switching here and there and going different places, and I'm very confused as far as like the adult ed being moved here and this one being moved here and that, and I totally agree with way too long a bus ride for the little kids in Lebanon. But and I'm also curious. Does it make sense to me to add in a pre-kindergarten program at this point when everything is so unknown with what's happening in the economy, and it just doesn't seem like a time to add that in, and I don't know where those numbers split up in here, because I would vote against adding a pre-K at this point. I know we got a grant for this year, but we're going to get taxed and slammed next year for it.
So what I'd like to do is just focus our conversation on the gentleman's motion, and once we get through that amendment, then maybe we can get back, we can entertain questions that might go elsewhere, if that's
okay. I just didn't know where to put that question in, so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so hang on to it. And
all right, thank you. Sorry.
Tony?
Thank you, Jeff. Tony Bourbon, North Berwick. So clarification, I'm getting a little mixed up here, and I imagine other people are as well. If we do move this money, and I think I heard you say this earlier, Jeff, there is no guarantee that this money is going to be utilized the way we're talking about right now. I heard a comment made that they're roundabout figures, and I know that they're really good figures. I appreciate that. But there is no guarantee that the money will be used as it has been asked to be used. Is that accurate?
I'm going to say yes, because that's the school board's decision.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it just seems as though to me we've put a lot of time. We're working on this since September. This is a budget that's fairly comprehensive and pretty well thought out. I'm a little stranged out that we'd be moving all this money in all these positions, and we're not really sure the impact because this was a reconfiguration in the district, if I'm correct. Is that right, to utilize the buildings better and that type of thing? I know there's a lot of things we got to be thinking about, but I just want to make sure I'm clear that if we move this money, it does not mean that this plan is going to actually happen, because that would go to the school board and the administrators to figure that out. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here.
Jeremy Hasbrook, Berwick. First, I want to thank the board for all of your hard work on this. It's easy to be a critic of all this hard work that you all put in, and I'm appreciative of everything that you've done to put together this here. On the motion itself, the motion is to support moving fourth graders back to Lebanon. The money that is being talked about did not appear to include additional operating costs associated with that movement back. Can I ask the board what the additional operating costs for the school to move that back would be, and what additional money would also need to be included in what article to support that?
Thank you.
Those incidentals for 80,000, right?
Yeah,
so we could-
yeah,
You're talking operating costs like just
Utilities.
utilizing.
Utilities, you know, just having a custodian to clean does not account for the additional costs of the additional occupation of the building, et cetera.
So just to be clear, though, we are utilizing that building currently, and we will continue to utilize it, so it will not be shut down completely.
Understand.
Yeah, so.
But additional occupation means additional.
Correct.
Understood, yeah. I'm not sure how to measure that out right this
Right.
second. Where's Kevin when I need him?
Right. Simply because less classroom space will be used, so that impacts electricity, so all of those things. But it is hard to quantify that at this point in time.
But it is an addition.
Yes.
Can you, sorry, can you just come back up to the mic?
My point is to not shortchange the cost to the budget of that move, to also include those additional costs, understanding it can't be here, but not to say it's simply the personnel, but also those additional operating costs to be included if that is the desire.
Thank you.
All right, so yeah, and I just wanted to make sure, did you hear an answer there? Other than, I think the response was, that's going to be tough to, it's going to be tough to know what all of those costs are. And I think maybe the message is.
It adds to Article 9.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted, yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Matt Leggett from Lebanon. I was just wanting to make a note about the bus ride that they were talking about, living an hour away. It is a really long ride, and I heard, comments about, people also having an hour ride. But currently these kids, and I think the town itself, is fighting to keep the kids in their own town. And I think if every parent here had a school in their own town, they would be doing the same thing, trying to fight to keep their kids in their own town. So whether it's an hour bus ride or half-hour bus ride, I think the parents in Lebanon really want to keep their kids in their hometown. And being that 15, 20 minutes away from the school that's centrally located for most people is something important to a lot of the parents. So I just wanted to make that point. The question I had was, how many students roughly are we talking about for fourth grade? Or I guess the third grade current count that would be going to fourth grade?
So they're looking into that.
Yeah.
And while they're looking into that, I think I would just clarify, because I heard that from both Berwick and North Berwick, that there are parents that have an hour ride to, or I'll say on the bus, I guess, because that's what we were talking about. So correct me if I didn't hear that correctly.
Yeah, I think it was, so if you have a student that's sick, especially fourth grade and a younger student, somebody said that the school's only 2 minutes away, but their kid's on the bus for an hour. But if there's something happening, it's nice to know as a parent, you're right there by the school and could take care of something if you need to. So these are asking parents now to be an hour away from the school. So My boys are freshmen and seniors, so they're pretty self-sufficient, but at fourth grade, I think I'd be much more concerned the distance to get to the school, especially at a fourth grade level.
There are currently 77 third grade students moving to fourth grade in Lebanon.
77?
Correct.
Thank you.
So would I be accurate in stating that there's already 4 teachers for 77 students? Because you said it was 16.
That's incorrect. Currently, there's 3 sections of fourth grade.
Yep.
And then we would need to increase by 1 teacher to accommodate the 77 students.
So there's 77, we're planning on 77 fourth graders, right? Does the budget account for 4 teachers for 77 students?
So the current fourth grade
Yes.
is smaller than that?
No, but this
Right.
budget is for the incoming fourth grade, correct?
Right.
Okay, so this budget is for 4 teachers for 77 students, correct?
So the way that we consolidated and moving all of the fourth grade together,
Yeah.
we were able to disperse students
Yeah.
so that class sizes could remain reasonable without having to add an additional fourth grade teacher.
It was 16 to 21, is that what you said for class sizes? So 77 students that you're anticipating is for 4, you have 4 teachers lined up for 77 students, correct?
So the way it is, Mr. Liggett, is that consolidating all of the fourth grade teachers for the district
Yeah.
allowed for those class sizes to remain there. If we just had the 77 students standing
Yeah.
alone in Lebanon, you would need 4 teachers, not the 3. So that's, do you see what
Right,
I'm saying?
I'm glad it was 77 because it's a very close number to 80,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
we know that it's 4 teachers.
Yeah.
This budget includes 4 teachers for those students. We know this because of what you just stated.
But.
Whether it's consolidated or not
Somebody help me.
consolidated, we got 4 teachers, I believe, right?
The difference is that you're moving them all together, so
Yeah.
it spreads them out more. If you
Sure.
pull them out and put them back,
Yep.
it adds up differently. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, it doesn't add up differently. It's still 77 students.
But I think the difference.
Hang on, folks, hang on. Yeah, let's just have an orderly discussion here. Go ahead, ma'am.
I think the challenge becomes when you join the schools together.
Yeah.
If you have a town that, this is obviously not the number, but let's say North Berwick only has 25 kids and we're saying we're capping at 22.
Yeah.
Combine those 25 kids that would need 2 teachers
Yeah.
with the Lebanon 4, like you're saving, there is a savings of a teacher when you combine all the kids. The other thing I do want to clarify, because I feel like this is not being shared as open or clearly, is that North Berwick, also 4th grade, is moving to Berwick. It's not just Lebanon kids that are moving.
Okay.
It is also North Berwick 4th grade. North Berwick 5th grade actually got moved to Berwick a couple years ago also. So it's not
Yeah.
just that Lebanon is losing their K to 5 or pre-K to 5 program with a couple grades. This is happening across the district.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Well, I hope
Or evenly.
all the towns try to buck the system for it, and not just Lebanon. I mean, I'm sure most parents want their kids close, especially if they had to go get them at school. So I will strongly say that I understand what you're saying with hypotheticals where there could be another teacher or couldn't be, but I think that number 77 really resonates because that puts about 19 kids in each student. So saying that 19 students per teacher. So I think you're going to not be gaining or losing a teacher in any scenario. I think you still budgeted for 4, and I think you should be moving those 4 without actually increasing the cost and having to add a teacher to the budget line item.
Okay.
We're going to,
Go right ahead.
Michelle Keniston, would you speak to the numbers for Knowlton
And if
School?
you could step up to the mic.
Michelle Keniston is the principal of Knowlton School.
So I just wanted to clarify.
It's good.
When we initially started looking at budgeting for 4th grade, Berwick has a very large group of 3rd graders coming up. Knowlton School would need 6 4th grade teachers. North Berwick Elementary was going to need 3, and Lebanon would need 4. And that would have there would have been some fluctuation with class sizes there. You would have had some classes of, in Berwick that would have been larger, and maybe some with 77 and 4, maybe smaller. When you put all of those numbers of kids together, it takes it from needing 13 to 12. So that's how the math works.
Thank you, Michelle. Question over here.
Holly from Berwick. I want to say I very much respect what Mr. Leggett's saying about being 45 minutes away from your child. I completely respect that. I am just deeply concerned that after $300,000+ was added last year, not used for what we asked for, that over $500,000 would be put back in and potentially not be used for what you're asking for, and we all as taxpayers have to pay that. Terrified, not gonna lie. But can somebody please, can James please clarify, because maybe he said it and I didn't hear it. Is he asking for those fourth graders to go to Hanson or back into Lebanon Elementary School?
Lebanon Elementary.
Yep, back to Lebanon.
Okay, so that is why the other parent was asking for overhead costs with the building,
Correct.
utilities,
Yes.
etc. Thank you. That's the one with the failed septic system?
The leach field was
Or
just
leach field?
replaced.
Okay, very good.
You have a gentleman out there.
Yes, sir.
Let's move the question.
Okay, so hang on. So the question has been moved, and hang on just one second. I want to make sure we do this correctly. All right.
Can I ask my question, please?
Hang on, please. So I'll entertain one more question, and then we will move to the vote. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Teresa Hartford, Lebanon. So we're moving all the kids for just one teacher, for the cost of one teacher, right? Because you said that we need 13, but now we only need 12. So we're moving all these kids and displacing them for the cost of one teacher. That doesn't make sense. Well, that's what she just said, that they would need 13, but now that we're consolidating, we're going to need 12.
That's only the cost of the teacher. That doesn't involve all the other costs of those kids being in the building, specials, secretary, custodial, all the other expenses associated with
But
that.
shouldn't they already be there because they're keeping the schools open? So they would already
Very
have those
limited.
positions there.
No, right, yeah.
So the answer was no. It's not just for one teacher. Okay. I'm going to, question has been moved. I'm going to call for a vote on the amendment. And this was to amend the school board recommendation and add back an additional $252,000. Is that right, Denise? $252,000? So, so we're voting on adding $252,000 to Article number 1. All in favor? Please raise your. No, the question's been moved. This is voting on the amendment. This is voting on the amendment. Keep your hands up, just sorry. All right, and opposed? Okay, the motion does not pass. All right, back to,
Jeff, can I?
yes.
I just want to say in response to Holly's comment, I think the board worked really hard to honor the intent of putting that money in, and for the most part, we did do what was asked. I just want to say that because there was no intent on this board to just take that money and do whatever we wanted. We, for the most part, did everything that people asked. There may have been a few things that we're not able to do, but we did, for the most part, honor that intent.
I think we just need to, at this point, I think that's last year. The motion didn't pass, so I'd like to get back to discussion on the current school board recommendation, which was $19,332,753. Is there any additional discussion on that?
I'd like to move the question.
So we're moving the question. Yeah, and I think technically we don't need to motion for moving the question. But all right, so I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of Article 1? So I think we're good here. Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. All right, thank you very much for the discussion. Article number 2, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for special education. The school board recommends $8,825,007. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you. And seconded. Discussion, please. All right. Seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please. And opposed. All right, the motion passes. And folks way back here, I don't know that it necessarily matters, but yeah, you really want to be down in here just for with the residents, but all right. So that article number 2 passes. Article number 3, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. The school board recommends $90,579.
Move the select the.
Thank you.
School board recommendation.
Thank you. All right, multiple seconds. Do we have any discussion? All right. Seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? All right, and opposed? Motion passes. Article number 4, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for other instruction. The school board recommends $1,260,716. Do I hear a motion?
Move the budget.
Thank you. And seconded, thank you. Discussion, please.
Rebecca Gleski in Berwick. I'm just curious what the other instruction is.
Audra?
That includes the athletic director, the assistant athletic director, some of our summer programming,
okay.
after-school activities, those types of things.
I thought it was other training for the teachers. Got it. Good.
And before you leave, I don't know that we had kind of tabled one of your questions. Let's ask the question so we can figure out which article that needs to.
And with this preschool that is planned or added in, I know we have a grant for this year, but then we're going to end up picking up the cost for what, 10 to, I've talked to several people who do preschools and looked up the state laws, and we can have, we have to have one teacher for like 8 kids, and there's 96 kids. So this is a massive undertaking that we're talking about. I know someone who used to run a big daycare in another city. So this is a massive daycare preschool thing that we're undertaking. And I'm just like, we have a grant for this year, but we're going to get stuck paying for all those teachers as soon as that grant isn't there. And so I don't know where to put in here, but I'm not in favor of that. And I don't know where to be opposed to it.
Sure, that would have been in article number 1. And what I would say is the board is committed to pre-K for this year, knowing full well that those discussions will happen next year. So it is not a blanket, because we got the grant and we're doing that right now, that it's forever.
Because what I looked up is it's going to require like little toilets, little sinks, all this stuff that we're going to have to buy, and then you know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole huge expenditure for. We have excellent pre-kindergarten programs in our area. We have excellent teachers, and so I don't understand this. I guess it seems like crazy a lot of money.
Some of the short answer is that in the state of Maine, schools will be required to provide universal pre-K. That has not been decided about what time that will be, like how many years out, but it is a movement in the state of Maine. So when this grant became available, it's able to pay for a lot of the startup costs, such as furniture, such as supplies, looking at playground equipment. So all of those things that we would have to do if the state mandated us to start pre-K, the towns would need to pick up those costs.
So where are they planning on putting this pre-K?
2 classrooms at Hanson School, 2 classrooms at Hussey School, 2 classrooms in North Berwick Elementary School.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I actually have a follow-up question, and this is for the members of the board. Assuming that most of you will be seated next year when we're addressing this grant is no longer here, how many of you are actually going to be willing to stand up and tell parents, you've had free pre-K for a year, we went out and spent all this money to customize the schools, we've lost the grant, we don't want to continue the program? How many of you are actually going to stand up and tell the parents that you're going to take something away instead of charging them more? And I'd like you to go down and have every board member tell me if you would support or not support
I think
ending the pre-K.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a productive exercise. I think it is. Yeah. I don't think that's a productive exercise.
And that was Article 1.
Right. And also, yes, it was Article 1, and Ms. Gillespie, my apologies for not getting back to you on Article 1. So I think we've had the discussion on the pre-K. I think unless you have a discussion item related to Article number 4.
Is this budget higher or lower than last year?
This budget?
On number 4.
Article number 4.
$40,000 more. $46,000 more.
So it's safe to say that all budgets that are government run always go up. They never go down.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Joe Forte, North Berwick. Just like to address the moderator. I'd like to request that you please do enforce the rule that you were speaking about earlier, where each person would only get to speak twice.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any more questions on Article number 4?
Point of clarification.
Thank you.
Point of clarification, that's twice per motion or twice all night?
It's twice per motion.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no more questions, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor? This is Article number 4. Okay, and opposed? Motion passes. Article number 5, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School board recommends $5,398,906.
Move the school board recommendation. Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, please.
This went up by 9%, so what was the reasoning for a 9% increase?
Yep, I do have it. So some of the highlights in this section, let me see. Right, benefits and salary have gone up in every category. We had, for the extended learning opportunities, the ELO teachers, they were in some of the funds that we received through ESER, and they're coming out. They stepped out a little bit last fiscal year 25. They're stepping into the budget, which is also for this upcoming 26.
Was that a grant that was awarded to the school?
That's correct.
So it's a grant that ended and now the taxpayers are picking up?
That's the proposed.
Kind of like
And
pre-K.
then salary, as I mentioned that.
There's a big chunk for the proposed lease for equipment.
Yep, we have a proposed lease for equipment. Technology equipment. Those are the big highlights.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? Motion passes. Article number 6, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for system administration. School board recommends $1,589,130.
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Discussion, please. All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? All right, motion passes. Article number 7, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for, Yes, Article 7, to see what sum the district will be authorized to spend for school board administration. School board recommends $2,618,602.
Move the school board recommendation. Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Discussion, please.
I was wondering how many administrators we pay for out of $2,600,000.
It's just going to be a moment.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
$12.6 in this, in the school administration.
12.6 and $2,600,000. Cool, thank you.
Yes, sir.
He's going down.
And just to clarify, Sean Works, North Berwick, that is not for 2 million. That 2 million includes a bunch of other categories as well. I believe the total is much less than that. Correct.
Can I do a second question?
Yep.
Yeah. So what is the number for, what are we paying the administrators, I guess, out of that 2.6 million?
Do this, hold on. Looking for salaries?
There's actually a decrease in principal, assistant principal, and dean costs this year of 52,000.
That's great. What out of the 2.6 million?
You want to know like individual salaries?
No, I don't want their individual salaries. He said the 2.6 million, there was other costs in that. So out of the 2.6 million, how much is wages, I guess, would be a more direct question.
1.96 million.
Oh, 1.96? Awesome.
Yeah, it's right there.
I'm glad the audience knew. Cool. Thank you very much. So,
Okay, okay.
thank
Good.
you very much.
Thank you.
So 2 million. 2 million for 12 people?
Yes, sir.
The total for the administrations, which was asked, not the clerical and stipends, is 1.496, according to the Brook.
Right,
Thanks,
and
John.
then if you add in just the benefits to that as well.
If you add the benefits in it, it comes to approximately 1.9 million.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please? Okay, and opposed? Motion passes. Article number 8, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School board recommends $4,073,063.
Move the school budget, the school board recommendation.
Thank you. And seconded. Discussion, please.
Jeremy Hasbrook, Berwick. Question on the leases line item in Article 8. For all of the proposed buses, are they all traditional buses, diesel or gasoline powered?
They are.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, James Dupree from Lebanon again. Just a kind of bigger picture issue. I know a lot of school districts are moving to outsourcing their transportation. Have we looked into that? And if we have, I'm assuming it's significantly more expensive. What ballpark, did you look at it first?
We have not looked at it probably in a couple of years for a few reasons. One is that it is actually more expensive, and then there is no going back to running your own fleet if you give up your fleet. And the other piece that's really important is that our drivers are good. They're, most of them are residents of our district. They do a great job, and we like to have people that that care about us and care about our kids.
So when you looked 2-3 years ago, how much more expensive was it?
I can't tell you that off the top of my head, Mr. Debris. I don't have that
Thank you.
information right here.
Yes.
Jessica Durand, Lebanon. I was just curious, with the incoming 4th through 5th graders, or 6th graders, with them being in the elementary school and run, I was just wondering how many more buses and bus drivers would we actually need to cover that?
I don't believe that we've added any drivers or any buses to handle the reconfiguration.
Are you going to be able to?
At this point in time, that's not the plan.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're redeveloping all of the bus routes, and what that means is that we're taking our fleet right now, but what we're doing is we're looking at utilizing buses that maybe were historically North Berwick buses. When they're coming in, they're going to be picking up, depending on where they are, they may pick up part of Lebanon, they may pick up a little Berwick, depending on where they are. Same thing with Lebanon. The buses that are riding in from Lebanon, as they're coming down, they're going to be picking up students from Berwick. So we're looking at it that way.
Okay, that's how it was when
you were
30 years
Sure.
ago when I was
Sure.
in high school.
See,
so
so
same
the
way.
pendulum swings, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please? Thank you. And opposed? The motion passes. Article number 9, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School board recommends $6,680,835.
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you. And we have a second. Discussion, please.
Sorry, I'm trying to digest these numbers really quickly. I'm looking through the information on page 30 and 31, and I don't see any like real building maintenance stuff in here. I see staffing, and I recognize that's required. I see contracted services. I see fuel for I'm assuming the generators and stuff, but I don't see anything that's actually fixing or maintaining.
So if you look at page 31, there is a supplies, capital renovation, supplies, general maintenance list, supplies, capital investment project list. Those are included in just general maintenance. And then
We have the Hanson roof.
yeah.
Okay, I see 48,000 for care and upkeep of grounds. I assume that's like snow plowing and mowing the lawns and stuff. Okay.
So if you look also on page 30, underneath purchase contract services, there's the general contracted services for general maintenance, and then the capital improvements as well. So that's kind of dispersed throughout.
Okay, is it possible? I mean, I'm looking through, and for the number of facilities we have and the age of those facilities, it seems like our true maintenance, putting dollars into maintaining the building, fixing things, building things, seems awfully small. Is that an accurate read of what I'm seeing here? Is we're really skimping on our maintenance?
I would say that we would love to put more into like long-term but our maintenance of the buildings themselves, if you can see that just by walking around, is pretty good. They're working hard. And the other piece that I think is important is that we've been able to utilize some of the grant funding to do a lot of the big overhauls with like the HVAC systems in several of the buildings over the past few years with the funding that we were able to use from the state and feds. So there's that piece of it as well.
Okay, so I guess my question, and once again, if possible, I'd like to have each board member respond. Are you comfortable with the actual maintenance funding for the buildings, not all the accessories and salaries and that stuff, but just this is how much we're spending keeping the buildings in operational shape?
Yeah, I'm just going to say it doesn't feel like a question and answer. It feels more like I'm exaggerating.
I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot. I'm trying to get a feel for how unanimous this decision was.
I think that's a topic for probably a school board meeting.
Okay.
And sorry, I didn't hear out here there was a.
Move the question.
Oh, so okay. Question's been moved. No other discussion? Yeah, I don't think we need the second moving the question. All right, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you. And opposed? Motion passes. Article number 10, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School board recommends $0.
Move the school board recommendation. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Do I hear or have any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And any opposed? All right, thank you. The article passes. Article number 11, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. School board recommends $25,000.
Move the school board recommendation. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please. And opposed. Motion passes. All right. So Articles 12 and 13 relate to raising funds for the proposed school budget. I'm going to read this in its entirety, so give me a minute. So Article number 12, to see what sum the district will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the district will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. Recommended amounts set forth are as follows. This is the total appropriated by municipality. Town of Berwick, $17,417,664. Town of Lebanon, $13,286,961. Town of North Berwick, $9,244,145. The total appropriated sum of the three towns is $39,948,770. The total raised and district assessments by municipality. Town of Berwick, $6,653,000. Town of Lebanon, $5,357,755. Town of North Berwick, $4,987,200. Total raised, which is the sum of the three towns, $16,997,955. Some additional explanation. The district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount the district must raise and assess in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. As a note, the above appropriations are determined in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15688(1). The amounts to be raised reflect the cost-sharing formula under Private and Special Law 1967, Chapter 67, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 1481-A2. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
Motion, do I hear a second? Motion and second. Any discussion? Do you have questions? Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, I will call for a vote.
Can I ask one question real quick?
Go ahead.
I know there was questions about federal funding for the Title IX stuff. Will these numbers change if we don't get federal funding to our school?
The budget numbers wouldn't change based on federal funding. If we were to receive less federal funding than we had planned, then there would need to be some conversation about how to find savings to cover whatever expenses we would need to cover during the year.
Oh, so the That's awesome. So if we lose federal funding, we won't have to pick that tab up in the towns. That's going to be, you guys will budget, figure out how to absorb that loss?
Well, so when we pass a budget, if we are to pass tonight this $49 million budget, I am not allowed to spend a penny more in a year. So that is the cap for the school year 2025-26, regardless of what happens. So the expenses can't go higher than that.
But I think the question, sorry, just to clarify the question, I think the question is, would what we spend go down?
Oh, no. I was just making sure the tax didn't change. So the 49 million doesn't include federal funding? That's in addition to the 49?
Exactly. Correct.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Apologies. Thank you. All right. Call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Article number 13, I'm going to read this, and then we're going to have a written ballot. To see what sum the district will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, the school board recommends $9,419,036, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by the recommended $9,419,036 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends $9,419,036, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $9,419,036. The school board gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model. Some curricular decisions that the board of directors has made and our communities have supported, such as full-time nurses and guidance counselors in each school, as well as reasonable class sizes. Fundamentally, however, the primary reason is that the EPS formula, which is the essential programs and services formula, does not fully recognize all of the costs necessary to maintain school programs and services. As an additional explanation, the additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the district's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the district budget for educational programs. All right, so at this time, actually, I guess we need to have yep, and second, thank you. And any discussions, and then we'll get into the written ballot.
I just wanted to point out that we have school districts in the state of Maine, RSU 75, RSU, I think it's 45, which is Topsom and Skowhegan, with a fairly similar student rate that we have. They're around 2,500. And they're doing it for 11,000 per pupil and 14,000 per pupil respectively. And we're at like 17 something per pupil. This is numbers off the 21-22 Department of Education, because that's all I could find online from the DOE. That's all they've released so far. So we're asking for more money in this question. I'm just wondering, I know this board has worked very hard. We've heard it from other people in this audience that this board has worked super hard. I haven't watched any of the meetings, to be super honest. Why are other districts able to do it so much cheaper than we are? And when I looked up their statistics, like math proficiency, they were 81 and 86% proficient for their students. This is again for 21-22. We're at 43%. So we're paying more for a product that's not as good. Because I know if my son came home with a 43 on his paper, he wouldn't be going to sports, he wouldn't be doing anything until he got that grade up. We've just continued to fund this at a higher rate year after year, and we're buying a failed product. So I'm wondering what this school board is doing to make sure the product, which is educating our students in math, writing, reading, arithmetic, and getting them proficient to make sure that we're actually spending more money on what we're paying for to have a good product, I guess.
Thank you. Do we want to, do we have any numbers that you want to confirm, or?
Just a moment.
Sure.
Thanks.
Can I speak to something?
Oh, sorry.
No
Go
worries.
ahead.
So I understand what you're saying. I wouldn't consider the education our kids are getting at Noble a failed product by any means, but I understand what you're saying about the costs being different at different districts, and there's...
What would you consider 43%?
I'm not sure where you got that, so I'm not going to speak to it right now.
I guess I was saying 43% has failed.
Yeah, so...
Okay, okay, okay.
Hey, that's nice. Sit down, sir.
So at,
Stay sitting
Okay,
down.
all right,
Yeah.
all right, all
At
right.
the meetings, which I do hope you attend next year, we do talk a lot about all of the successes we have in our districts that maybe don't translate into the reports you're seeing, and that is totally fine. But what I want to impress about this article in particular is something that I don't think a lot of people are engaged in, which is what the EPS value is from our state. So I think you're taking aim at the wrong place. Instead of saying where can the towns skim, I think we should be advocating more for a higher EPS rate from our state. So I hope that when we leave this meeting tonight, everyone in the audience does, write to your state and ask for a higher EPS, because that's the discrepancy here. We aren't able to function at the amount that they say is okay for a school to run. So I do encourage us all to go and write our letters to our state reps so that we can see a higher number next year and not have to make up so much of the difference from the town.
So I agree that the way they district and fund money needs to be looked at. I agree, but I believe that's a separate issue, because we can see school districts around us succeeding with an 81 or an 86, a passing grade, not a failed grade of 42. They can do it at a lower rate. So saying we need more money to make sure our kids can pass is a very inaccurate statement. And to not understand how 43% of our kids are proficient in math is not failed, and that we need to look at other areas, really gives me a lot of, it leads me to think the board is dishonest about how they're feeling about our kids' grades in school. Because I think any parent or anybody will believe a 43 is a failing grade.
So,
Okay, go ahead, Sue.
I think I have some, updated numbers for you, which are comparisons that are not added in with per pupil spending for CTE or debt service kind of stuff. So we actually are currently spending $15,828 per student. And I don't have Skowhegan in front of me.
I do.
Okay, for this year?
Did you say that was RSU 75? I believe so. They spend $20,894 per pupil.
Yeah.
I think he also said RSU 45?
Yeah, I don't have that one. Yeah.
Okay, well, I have both of them.
Can you just state your name?
Yes, hi, everyone. My name is Shelley Boucher, Lebanon, Maine. I also have RSU 45, and their cost per pupil is $17,000. I have every other one in the state as well, so if anybody wants to know, and it also states that Lebanon is far less than almost any one of these. So just letting you know.
Thank you. Over here?
So according to
And
the graph...
Sorry, just state your name
Holly
again.
from Berwick,
Thank you.
Dupuy. So according to the graph that the school board and the superintendents distributed at one of the last school board meetings, per pupil expenditures, Noble is still in the bottom 3 of all surrounding districts. I wouldn't be proud of that. We're doing the most we can with the least, and we are still below the average. Kennebunk, Kittery, Marshwood, Wells, York, always above us. Their scores are probably better because, unfortunately, money does matter. If you want to invest in your kids' education, you have to spend a little more. I don't think it's proper to say like the standard, just because another school does it with less, that doesn't necessarily make it the gold standard. I think what our school board is doing is really great. We're still in the bottom 3 of all surrounding districts, which is sad to me. I think we could do better, and unfortunately, that's not going to come with more slashes and cuts.
Okay, any other discussion?
Rebecca Gillespie, Berwick. I'm not sure the horse is dead yet, so I got to ask another question. So I'm really like taken. I know I'm really disappointed in the scores that our students have had. It's very sad. So we're looking at adding in this preschool right now. How much is this going to cost us in the next budget? I mean, how much grant did we get this year for this preschool?
$600,000.
$600,000?
Yes.
Okay, and that's going to cover the 10 or 12 teachers that are going to be required for this?
It's covering educational technicians. It's covering supplies. It's covering furniture, playground equipment. And then we get this, we have the cost for teachers, but we're getting the subsidy for that per pupil.
I'm not understanding that. We have the cost for teachers, like so in addition, so how many staff is going to be required for this 96 student?
The ratio for pre-K is a teacher and an ed tech per 16 students.
Okay, and how big are the classrooms?
What do you mean, how big?
You have 96 students, and you said you're going to have...
There's 16 students in each classroom. So
Okay.
there's 2 classrooms in Berwick, so 32 students in Berwick, 32 in North Berwick, 32 in Lebanon.
Okay, and how did you... Berwick generally has more students than the other towns, so it seems like it's going to take more teachers in Berwick, but you're still going to have to cover it in the other ones. I think it's going to be more teachers, and you have to have coverage for bathrooms and breaks, because this is an all-day program, correct?
It is a full-day program.
Yeah, so you have to have extra staff to cover for breaks and lunchtime and teachers. I don't know how you figure it. That's a lot of staff that's going to get added to the school. We're concerned with a couple teachers to keep the kids in Lebanon, but we're looking at adding, how many staff was that?
So it sounds like what you're asking for, again, is about next year. We're not at next year, we're at this year.
But right now, we're talking about adding, we already need 9 million more than what they're saying, and next year, you're gonna add on a whole pile more. And I think the 600,000 is not nearly gonna be enough to cover it.
So I don't understand the question, because we've already addressed that through Article 1. And the board, as I mentioned, the conversation about continuing pre-kindergarten is coming up for next year's budget. So the article was already closed, and we're moving on to this portion. So I'm not quite sure how to address your question.
Okay. So we're going to be like even more short of money next year, is what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Could we just have the total cost of the pre-K program? I think that would answer a lot of questions. Thank you.
That is the updated change, the 1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at this point, the amount, you're asking for the total cost of pre-K. So the amount in the local budget is approximately $595,000. The amount of the grant is approximately $600,000. So we are looking $1.2 million approximately. There are, normally when we get funding from the state for students, it's a year behind. So for our 26 funding, they look at our October student counts, how many students are in the district, and that's how they calculate. In this instance, because we got this grant from the state, they are giving us subsidy now for '26 instead of having to wait a year, and that subsidy is approximately $1 million. So of the $1 million, $595,000 is going toward pre-K specifically. That's what I think I have to say.
I just wanted to mention for anyone that hasn't necessarily been following the meetings this year, where this will be something we talk about next year, I think there's 2 really in-depth meetings that we had. One with school administrators where they talk about some of the really big benefits, especially when it comes to testing, of having preschool, a pre-K education. And then there's a second meeting where it goes in depth about the ramifications for the next, I believe it's a 3-year total that we did, where we broke down exactly the amount. So I guess after this meeting, maybe we can send something out that just addresses those 2 meetings.
Yes, we
a little
certainly
more.
can. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Question?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I have a question about the grading system at Noble.
And just remind everybody your
Holly
name.
from Berwick, my apologies. So the grading system at Noble is a little different than some other districts, right? So, for example, an A+ is anything 97 or higher. An A is 92% or an A- 92%. My point is, we set the bar higher than other districts, correct? Just a little bit higher by more points, correct? Could that affect our scores? Is that, or am I just crazy? Is that a crazy?
I'm not sure how that would translate necessarily.
Because, yeah.
Well, we have a 92% graduation rate. Our kids do well, and that actually throughout the state, it's one of the highest in the state of Maine. So you can use numbers lots and lots of different ways, and you can throw out the test scores and do all those kind of things, but everybody's looking at things in their unique perspective. So,
Okay,
yeah.
but that's not going to affect the testing scores, 40%, or you know what I mean?
I don't
Okay.
think so, because they use a typical, I'm not sure exactly which ones they're referring to, honestly, on the TATE test, so we'll just have to.
Are they using NEWA tests? Or what our school district,
If it was from 21 or 22, not necessarily the NWEA. Not necessarily.
Okay. If there are no additional questions, I will ask that you come down to your respective table and cast your written ballot.
Yeah. Got it. This to you.
Oh my God. And this time, perfect time.
I'm lucky I'm able to come to this. Let her know I said hi and I It's very
Yeah, you're fine. And there's bathrooms back there. Yeah.
somewhere in the red room here.
Oh, really?
Thank you for everything you were saying.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Good, how are you? Mr. Works.
Hi, girls. How's it going? Good? Having fun? Kind of our dream to
Riveting.
Yeah.
Hello. Hey, how are you? I'm well. How are you? Good, thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Oh,
I was stuck in my aisle and I couldn't get out. Yeah, that's okay. It was probably better. No, it's great.
How you doing, kid? All right? Yep.
Did you go to Berwick? So my daughter is a freshman in high school. Her best friend is out.
Nope.
I understand. Very excited. The hockey games are really fun. They've been having a great time.
But
Oh my God.
there's a lot to do. So it's coming in a good time. And I like it. Every year different. There's that. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
you.
So, well, yeah, you're like, I can't even imagine.
The funny thing is, we actually started the picture with an acknowledging the
So who was the?
Did Saturday meeting, so she can't go. So I told her, I was like, I'm going to try and make it, but I'm not sure. She's like, I'm not going to be there.
This is not. This one is not. This is.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done with this. We'll be closer to your time. He's coming.
Do you want it by 10?
Okay.
This is not
Okay, could I have your attention, please? So the results for Article 13 are yes, 91, no, 22, and I'll break that down by town. For Lebanon, yes, 21, no, 12. Berwick, yes, 34, no, 3. And then North Berwick was yes, 36, and no, 7. So the article passes. All right, thank you for doing that in a quick and orderly fashion. Moving on to Article number 14, which summarizes the proposed school budget. So, Article 14 says, to see what sum the district will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30, 2026, from the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Local funds for non-state funded school construction debt service, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine revised statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15690, unexpected balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. The school board recommends $49,894,591. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And seconded. Do I hear discussion?
Just a point of
And
clarification.
sorry, just state
James
your name.
Dupree, point of clarification.
Thank you.
This seems redundant. We've already allocated and approved expenditures. Can you explain why we've got a separate one?
Go for it, please.
Okay. So all of the articles identify how much you're going to spend in each of those categories, and you also have to approve the budget in whole and approve our spending of all of those.
So this is just bureaucracy?
This is all legal, all
Okay.
of these questions are
Okay,
just
thank
legal.
you.
You're welcome.
Jeremy Hasbrook, Berwick. Question for clarification. This article specifically states kindergarten to grade 12. However, as we've stated multiple times, that Article 1 includes pre-K as well. Is this an accurate article in this form?
Why don't we amend it?
We can, thank you. If the funding is accurate, the language, we should maybe amend it to say pre-K.
Okay, so
Yes, would you like to?
recommend motion to amend the article to state pre-kindergarten to grade 12 in lieu of kindergarten.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the amendment? And the amendment is to have the verbiage reflect pre-K.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is just do we need to go back and also adjust the other items that say kindergarten?
So I'm
Or
going
can
to,
we move it?
it's a good question.
Oh, sorry. Sean works in North Berwick.
Thank you. I'm not going to go backwards. So any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, yeah, just, I was wondering, so because it says the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, is that a state act? So would the language for that would only be kindergarten, right? Because they haven't mandated pre-K yet. So that's why I didn't move to amend this earlier. I thought the kindergarten language was intentional because of that.
To be honest, I don't know what the legal answer is. I know that in the funding formula is a state formula, but they do have our pre-K in there. Even, so I'm not sure what to say about that.
So I would go back to the statement that was made earlier, which is ultimately it's going to be the school board that decides how to spend this money, and if you're going to spend it on pre-K, then you're going to spend it on pre-K. So it seems to me it's about the dollar amount.
The primary focus of this is, yes, the dollar amount. That is, we are, by voting for this number, we are voting to approve our expenditure of that 49 million.
So we can, I would say we can vote on the amendment and put pre-K in there, but ultimately, I think it's on the dollar.
I would just like to make a suggestion to the mover. Instead of restricting his motion to this particular article, I would recommend that he modify his motion to update all references to kindergarten to include pre-K.
Yeah, then I think that would require us, my opinion, to go backwards on all the prior items.
Okay, can I make, if this is out of order, tell me and I'll come back. Can I make another motion granting the board the authority to update language when there are typographical, grammatical, or I forget what the other term is.
Yeah.
You know the motion I'm talking about. It's a standard
I know
one.
what you're saying, and I'm just trying to decide, is it necessary? And I'm thinking it's not necessary because going back to the school board, you're voting to have the school board have a budget, and they're going to exercise that budget to the best of their ability. And if that includes pre-K, then I think they've got it covered.
All right, I'm much more familiar with Robert's rules, and that would matter under Robert's rules. I don't know if it matters here, so I'll bow to your expertise.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm just going to go back to conversations with the lawyers, and the lawyers say it's about the dollar amount, so. And so, yes, sir.
Again, Jeremy Hasbrook from Berwick. I guess my reason for clarity and question is I believe is the article and language that will come up in the referendum that gets voted on. So the accuracy for the referendum that will be voted on by the town is incredibly important to be clear so that people understand that pre-K is included in this 49 million that will come up for referendum. Is that an accurate statement that this is the wording that will appear
If you look at,
on the ballot?
on page 36, the last page, the article will read, do you favor approving the Maine School Administrative District Number 60 budget for the upcoming school year that was adopted at the latest district budget meeting? So it doesn't specify K-12, pre-K-12.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out.
So does this have something to do with the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Mark Nelson, Lebanon. If you will notice in Article 14, it says any additional local funds for school purposes, which would include the pre-K. So in other words, it does not have to be included in the language. Okay, it's already there, any additional funds.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so whether or not the amendment is necessary, I think is mute.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the amendment? And the amendment is to revise this language to say funding public education from pre-K to grade 12. All right, I'm going to call for a vote on the amendment. All in favor? Okay, and opposed? Motion passes. So the language will say funding public education from pre-K to grade 12. All right. Thank you. And back to the amended article. Any discussion, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good discussion. Article number 15 raises and appropriates funds for the school nutrition program. Article 15 reads, to see if the district will raise and appropriate $0 for the school nutrition program with authorization to expend any additional, incidental, or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the school nutrition program.
Move the school board recommendation.
Motion and seconded, thank you. Discussion, please. All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? Motion passes. Article 16 authorizes the adult education program and raises the local share. Article 16 reads, to see if the district will appropriate $300,867 for adult education and raise $150,000 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you. And seconded. Discussion?
Mark Nelson, Lebanon. I noticed that's an increase from last year, okay, but there's no statement as to where that money is going. That is what I'm just asking.
Can I speak to that one?
So we noticed that next year we were going to be losing funds that we had historically received, and we need to continue funding the program. So this is preemptively funding that so that it doesn't all fall onto our budget next year.
Okay. In other words, it's to replace some funds that we are, as far as we know, we might be losing.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? Motion passes. Article 17 authorizes expenditures of grants and other receipts. And it reads, in addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Do I hear a motion?
Move the school board recommendation.
Thank you. And second, thank you. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you, and opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. I think that is it. All right.
Oh, yeah, wait, we did stuff to say.
Any other items
I
of
do have a
other business?
Yep, I just have a few summarizing
Please
words.
do.
Thank you. Just really quickly, I just want to clarify a few things coming up for June 10th. When you go to the polls on June 10th, you'll be asked to vote on the 2 questions, and they're in the back of the book. And I'd just like to clarify what those are. Question 1 will ask approval of the Maine School Administrative District budget. This vote is on the total dollar amount discussed at this evening's meeting. Question 2 is a legally required question that appears on the ballot every 3 years in all of Maine communities. It asks voters to decide how future school budgets should be approved. A yes vote means that the district will continue using a referendum process to validate the annual school budget for the next 3 years. A no vote means that the district will discontinue the referendum process for the 3 years. Instead, the school budget will be adopted through a vote at the district budget meeting, and that meeting's outcome will determine the budget.
So can I just ask for
Yes.
clarification?
Yes.
So just as an example, tonight we are having a district budget meeting.
Correct. And this is a question that's asked, again, every 3 years to every town about the schools in the state of Maine. So there's been a couple of other questions that I just want to clarify. So should the budget fail on June 10th, I'd like to just publicly outline the next steps. And I'm going to read this. This is from, this is what we need to follow. So if the budget fails, the school board must call a second budget meeting to be held between 10 and 45 days after after June 10th. And then if we get to July 1st without an approved budget for the 26 fiscal year, then what happens is we get an interim budget, and that interim budget is the one that is submitted right now by the board. So that it would fall to this current budget that we've been discussing this evening. So I just wanted to make that clear that if the budget fails, we fall to this budget because this is the budget that was approved by the board. And until we then have a vote and an approved budget, we work off of this budget.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we need board members to just stay to sign some documents. Thank you.
So,
And thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
So, yeah, just have a question down here.
I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. So if all the towns go to the ballot and vote no on the budget is still approved essentially?
No, we use this as an interim budget until we're able to craft a new budget that is approved by the towns.
Because you need something in play while.
Okay, so we'll follow the $49 million budget until you guys propose a new budget?
Until a new budget is proposed and it's passed by the voters.
We'd have another budget meeting like this.
Yep.
We have to call another meeting of this type. We would come up with a number.
Yes.
And then we would go and we'd have another referendum where we vote again. And until then, there's some miscommunication that last year's budget might be the interim budget, but the clarity is this budget would be our interim spending budget until we all agree at referendum on a budget.
Okay, that's weird.
'cause you need
So
some-
the budget would
That's-
never go lower though, right? Because you would already be at the 49 million, so
Well,
there'd be zero incentive for you guys to
Well,
propose something
ultimately, you
different.
need a budget to pass.
Yeah.
And there's a timeline that says when we need to call a budget, present a budget, and I forget what you said it was, so, but 10 to 45 days?
45 days, yep.
10 to 45 days, there needs to be another one of these meetings. Josh?
I just need some clarity because I'm looking at Title 21 Education, Section 1487, failure to pass a budget. And it says, if a budget for the operation of a regional school unit is not approved prior to July 1st, which is what Audra's talking about, the latest budget approved at a regional school unit budget meeting, which essentially would be this, and submitted to the voters for validation. That recommendation is automatically considered the budget for operational expenses. That's not this budget. This budget has not been before the voters for approval, right? As a referendum. That'd be last year's budget.
It will be. And if
It
it
will
gets
be.
voted down, it would be the one that.
Right, but if it gets voted down,
It's still been presented to.
It's still
Josh.
been presented.
I promise we talked to legal to make sure that we were speaking correctly. We really did.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
messed up.
All right. Thank you very much for the great questions. Hopefully everybody got a chance to answer their questions. And please remember to vote.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Yep. Just 1 second. So just clerks, you have everything that you need. You're all set? Town clerks? Yes, all good? Okay. All right, now could I have a motion to adjourn? In a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anybody opposed? You can stay.
I know, I had to write all the numbers.
Mine's getting worse.